Yo. So I guess it's on now.
The whole,
Nice.
Think of it. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Now we can continue. So we were basically talking about like flipping, and like what's crazy is like last month, like I started flipping, and I started like going on eBay, started buying a whole bunch of shit for free.
Right.
I think the only thing I got left right now is this card file box I got sitting right there.
Right.
Yeah, but it's a good side hustle.
Yeah, it definitely is. Actually, one of my business that I run, I hired around 6 to 7 people. We flip these game accounts, right? And the margins are pretty crazy. So if people are not familiar with the currency in South America, people tend to sell things a lot cheaper because money is worth a lot more. So when these are resold to, like, let's say, to Asia or the US, the margins could be almost 100%, even 150%. And because of that, profits are quite crazy. I think I maximized the flipping market by having a lot of people know people from from South America. So I was able to obtain more these accounts, and I kind of just run a whole business behind flipping.
Oh shit.
If you actually think about it, every single business out there, you're either flipping a service or you're flipping the time of someone. For example, like the obvious flipping businesses are like Rite Aid, Donry. They flip drugs, candy,
Big
so
Pharma.
on. Yeah, they just
Oh,
keep
shit.
flipping back and forth. And not so much of like pharma, but anything in this, if you think about it. If you're talking about, like, let's say like Google, they acquire a company that's worth like 20 million, and they buy it for like, let's say, 30 million, right?
Shit.
And they put income, like capital, into it. So they put like a bill into the business. That business could go up to 10 billion. So if you think about it, they're just flipping equity or in the biggest scale. So you really think about everything in this world. Everybody's trying to flip something. You turn something that's less of a value to a greater value. It's like one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Nice.
So it's like, that's how I think nowadays. Anything, I'm very humble to the fact that you can flip anything in this world as long as someone finds it more valuable than you bought it originally. So I think it's a perspective that and it's honestly, it's a lot easier than, let's say, flipping time. Flipping time means like if someone pays you, let's say, $200 to do a service. If that service takes like 10 hours, right, you make it 20 an hour. Granted, if you, let's say, you bought like a pair of sneakers at one of the thrift shops, right, for $80, and you resell for $200. The only time and effort you need is to catalog and place it in some type of marketplace. Once it's sold, technically you just made $120 within 5 minutes. So you ask yourself, which is actually better for my time flipping, right? And that whole concept was the origins of how I got some cash flow, because I thought of that, the efficiency of time. So when people ask me, do you love making money? No, I love how efficient numbers can be. Because if you think about any type of business, the richest people in the world, they're so efficient with their time. In terms of like one move can make $5 million within like a couple of minutes, right? Because that's the efficiency of like, I don't want to put a wage on everything, but when you are humble by, like, you're not a millionaire, you're just starting as a entrepreneur. Your life has to start somewhere, and I think end of the day, even if you work a normal job, you still can make this kind of concept. You just gotta find ways that's marketable when you're flipping things. It's easy to move, not too easy, because anything that's too easy to move, it gets saturated. So I think that flipping should be a concept of any type of passive income, because you're always trying to, even stocks, like, that's considered a passive income. The stocks, if it goes down, they're technically flipping for a higher price, and it's called like swinging or day trading, whatever the case is. So I just put this whole concept in my head, and anything I see that I can resell for a better value, I go for it.
Nice.
So that's like my philosophy of like business itself. More of the execution, less the management, because that's a different story. But the execution is profit at the end of the day, right? That's what we all look for. And then we could also like put expenses in play, but that's another story.
Another
right?
story, right?
Yes, but end of the day is that if you're running any type of business in this world as an entrepreneur, you want to flip everything. Everything has a value in this world, even your own time, things that you have. It's always you just in order to have a very solid business of any flipping of any sort, you just got to build a reputation so people offer you more things to flip. I think that's where like the exposure matters. So yeah, that's my philosophy on it.
Nice. And that's a crazy thing too, because like I'm still new to flipping, but then like after like a week of flipping, I realized that there are certain items that are worth like more than like how it's supposed to be. And like even though you can probably go home like with $1,000 a week, like after a while, like at the same time you were talking about services too, like I'm jumping around a lot, but when I started like freelancing as an audio engineer, right, I'm making like, let's say for like 4 hours I make like $100.
Right.
And like when we were walking before like we came here, right, we were talking about like what we're gonna do after, and I was like, before that I was thinking like around December to March, like it's usually really, really slow. So that means like the service part is kind of like this is the part where the service gets a little bit useless, because now I have to like focus on like how I'm gonna be making the money. And like at the time I was thinking about quitting like my part-time job, but then last year when I realized that, oh, there's a time where it gets really, really slow. Like there's only two times of the year when it gets slow, which is like now and in July, because that's where everyone goes to spring break or some shit like that. And now like that's why I decided to like focus more on sound design. So because not only you could like sell based on service, like it's not even on service, because all you gotta do is just make the shit and just leave it there until someone wants it.
Right.
And it's at the point now where you could basically be asleep, and all someone has to do if they want to design, like just click on the website.
Right.
Yeah, so you're just basically making money when you sleep.
That's also a good way to think of like of anybody, like for example, if you heard the concept like FBA, like fulfillment by Amazon, like third party selling on Amazon, a lot of things get cataloged in there, and if someone pressed the button, they buy it, and you generate revenue. Very similar to what you're saying right now. I think that speaks volume in terms of moving product. However, I think that as something like that, it's very one saturated, which is okay if the content and the quality is very good and the branding is very good, then it will sell. But it's quite difficult to sell something that's not frequently wanted. And you spoke about like actually let's stay on topic on this one. For something like that, if you have a lot of beats. You mass produce beats, like to say that you're off time, right? When you mass produce beats, even though you're not really servicing, but you're selling these beats, if you technically, even if it's slow, I don't think it really matters, because it's being cataloged. You're not losing anything. You just have to have people come to the website. And then that goes back to, okay, so one of my mistakes in the beginning, I didn't do enough marketing or advertisement. It was ironic, because I was a digital marketing consultant. A lot of times I help people get better returns in their ads. And I didn't apply that to myself. It's really weird. Like, you know certain things and that's your work, but you didn't apply it to yourself. And my problem is that it wasn't that it was slow. It was my branding wasn't effective enough. The awareness wasn't effective enough. So this is where it comes to play. Like, you could pay someone to give acknowledgement from the audience. So think about this. If your Facebook page has 100 likes, right? And generally, let's say that 50%, that's crazy, but 50% of these people support your business. They probably bought a product from you. And the other 50 is your friends because you asked them to, whatever. Right? And then that these people bought your product already. They're not really looking for another one. And so you're leveraging 100 people. However, if you pay, let's say, $1,000 to an influencer or someone that's pretty well known, influencer, that's why the prices of influencers have gone up because of this concept. You put this type of let's say your beats, right? in front of an audience with like $1,000, generally an audience of like maybe 50,000.
Probably
people. More or less, depending what platform you're on and how the guy, well, female or male, is promoting themselves. So it really depends on the fact that how big your audience is. Let's say that you get a 1% conversion rates, which is crazy, but let's say 1% conversion rate on a 50,000 audience, right? So 1% of that is approximately like 50 people, right? Yeah, 50
probably,
people?
yeah.
Is it 50? 500? 500 people. Okay, that's a little crazy. So let's say 0.5, so 250 people. And because your product is expensive, it's more like high quality, so you won't probably hit those numbers because that's unrealistic. But let's just say that you get 10 people from this, right? I'm not going to throw a percent. 10 people. You pay $1,000 for people to be aware of what's going on. But however, you make 10,000. Let's say you sell each piece for 1,000. You license them, and you get 10,000 back. So your return is $9,000. Your expense was 1,000 for the influencer, and that's such a huge profit. And that's the problem with a lot of people who are starting out. They don't want to spend money. You gotta spend money to make money.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that was one of my mistakes that I didn't apply to myself, and I started paying people off to advertise, sponsor a bunch of people. But you gotta make sure you're doing the right research.
Exactly.
If the person is too saturated about promoting things, no one wants to hear from them. The audience does not want to hear from them. But if it seems genuine and the person likes your product, they will be more devoted to expressing it or even advertising it because you're sponsoring them. And in that case, I think that engagement from their own audience will be higher because they like the person, and because the person is endorsing it and likes it, then the audience might actually buy it. So it comes down to not so much slow times, it's just effectiveness of advertisements and branding to an audience that like it. However, end of the day is that sometimes it may not. You have zero conversion rate. I had some ad campaigns that had no one. And it was my fault. I didn't do my research right. So test and try once again. You're gonna have to burn some money to make some.
Exactly.
We talked about that earlier. I lost a lot of money when I started doing my businesses.
Yeah, me too. Like, especially with the ads, right? A lot of people like want to run ads, but it's like they don't know how to use it. Like I spent like 2 years like just doing trial and error, just trying to figure out like how it works, how it doesn't work. And there are some people like, a lot of people's biggest mistake is that they only run ads for the views and likes, which is insane to me for some reason. Like, I remember having a talk with a friend, and I was like, "Here, what are you gonna do? You're gonna set your ad to reach this kind of audience. You're also gonna set the age.
What ads are you talking
like Facebook ads?
Okay, Facebook.
But any ads works the same way. Yeah, like most of them work similarly.
Depends, but
yeah,
that's another discussion.
Yeah,
but go on.
Yeah, but she was like wanting to shop her music, right? So I was like, you're going to set your audience to this audience because you sound just like this person.
Right.
These are the age demographics you're going to reach. I can't remember exactly. And the location. But she refused because I'm reaching a tiny amount of people compared to if I didn't set any of these parameters and shit. Right. And I was like, you do know that if you advertise to all those people instead of targeting them, you're going to attract people who don't even like your type of music.
Okay.
And she was like, she didn't care, and like, it happened. It blew up in her face, like, no, it works. And she's still doing it because a lot of people like focus more on the vanity more than the actual results. I think I made a Facebook post about this. About people who care more about like how shit looks more than the results. And it's like, that's the biggest mistake you ever do. You just lose money.
I would say that I actually see that quite often. Like I've seen some advertisement where people advertise their Twitch or like the YouTube. I mean, I don't think it's completely ineffective depending on how you do it. Personally, I felt like I should have done that when I started. Is quite effective, in the sense that it depends what kind of business you're in. Let's say it's only music, and I think for that type of music, it is important. Like music is very important because there's a lot of I guess loyalty behind it, and having like the right like people looking at your music. If it's actually genuinely good and it's good quality, then it might be a good idea. I understand what you're saying with vanity, but some people think that the quality is very good, and this is self-awareness. Is it actually good? Not to their own audience, but as a neutral audience, to realize that who would not dislike this? So for me, I care about my enemies and my friends and people who dislike or like my stuff. It does not matter.
It doesn't matter.
Because you don't know who will like it and who will like it. So you got to keep it neutral. And this is why a lot of people recommend don't get into politics. You're trying to run any type of business because you don't want any one-sidedness of any sort. You want to stay very neutral. That's why a lot of these corporations, they avoid that stuff for that reason. In that case, if you're really trying to promote your business in terms of like likes, listening to your music, but there's no result of revenue because you're not selling anything, just know that you're not going to make any money for a very long time. And you're just doing it for exposure. But it also depends on what you're selling, because if you're selling something doesn't have a really good return, you're just doing it for a second plan. For example, if you're selling music, right, just to promote your music, but you don't know how to manage your business for the next step, which is like tours and so on, so on, so on.
That's actually my next step.
It is not a good idea. However, if you're ambitious and you know that's what you want, then I don't think it's considered as an effective strategy. I think it is a very effective strategy. But also you gotta know your budget and your budget limits. You know your financial situation, because it seems like these people that you're talking about have trouble with these type of things, and they go broke because they try so hard to do this, but they don't have the capital to go to the next step. And the end of the day is that people have to save money. Save money for the next step. You need cash flow. No matter what kind of industry you're in, cash flow is king, because you can move to the next step. With advertisement, expenses, I don't know if there's any type, like if you want to scale, let's say like, for example, you're trying to sell 100 hats and you expect to be rich. No, you can't. You need the base money to make 10,000 hats so you can sell it, and then you need the right amount of advertisement to sell 10,000 hats, and so on and so on and so on. Especially such an expensive and lucrative industry, you need a lot of that, crazy amounts. No one's gonna view your stuff if they don't know it. There's so many competition out there. So I'm a little I'm in the middle of what you said. I do agree with some of the things you said about vanity. Some people just want it for attention, but if in their hearts they believe that it's a good quality thing, they might fail. So they have to redo the campaign, and they need to collect more cash. But I think that if they really believe that this is like something that they really want, they're ambitious about it, I wouldn't say that it's a bad idea, because honestly, if I did something like that in the beginning, it would have helped me a lot more. I was very insecure about it. And because I was insecure about it, I didn't want to throw that out there. So I would say it depends on the person in terms of advertising, just for likes and attention, exposure. So.
Nice. So what's crazy about that, like going back a little bit, where you talk about a lot of people, like they advertise their music just for the exposure, but they don't know how to go to the next step, like touring, etc. And like it's crazy because I'm actually like progressing to like doing more shows and stuff now. Because that's just because like last year I did a show with a promoter, right? Like it happened like twice. And last year I did a show with a promoter, and it was like bullshit, but I actually like read it out like immediately, but they were like shorting me of like 5% of ticket sales. Like that's how much I was actually getting, despite me bringing like all of these people, and plus it still like ripped me off. And I was like, you know what? If I could bring this much people by myself, I don't really need these people anymore. Like I could actually like start doing shows on my own, because I already have a New York audience, so it's possible. And especially like when you're getting into the business, like you're gonna like lose a lot of money. Like people are gonna rip you off. You're gonna make some bad investments. Like when I first like started doing this, like even like before that, like when I was rapping, I got ripped off by like a bunch of big name rappers and shit. And when I started doing this instead, like the freelance audio engineering, there was this guy who made me do like 3 albums, and he didn't pay me for any of them. It's like worth $3,000,
Right.
and it's like that kind of messed with me for a little bit, and now I'm back, I guess. Did you ever experience some shit like that?
Yes. I think that I'm more of a very careful person. So it could have happened, but it haven't happened so far. Obviously, I had one bad investment I talked about earlier. Lost a decent amount of money. I think that it was nobody's fault. It was just that little pieces started falling together to create that. But but at the end of the day, I think that we're so self-centered about our own issues in terms of like what you said. I'll give you my example first. I'm so centered like, okay, this business failed. Instead of like asking myself, okay, if I partnership with someone else, right, that person should make a profit. If they're not making a profit, then I'm just being greedy. Because both parties have to be happy in order for an agreement to happen.
Exactly.
So I think that if I think something's unfair, I should speak to them about it. However, if they're very dismissive about it, then that's on them. So I would not want to have an agreement with them. However, sometimes, like for example, if you pay for a show, so if you pay someone, right, is it for like a location or is it like advertisement? What is it in terms of promoter?
Mostly like the door to the venue, at least.
Okay, so door to the venue. So that's a standard. You have to pay for that. You have to rent it out. Okay. So what else you have to pay for?
Well, they just take like a huge cut of the ticket sales just to make up for how much they paid for the venue. And it's like, this is stupid because now they're going home with like $5,000 a night because they're bringing like a different bunch of artists who's doing the same thing. And it's like, when I calculated, I was like, yo, these niggas are playing me. And it's like,
So I have a question for you. So first, you have to consider these things. Location. So where is this located in?
It was in Brooklyn, but I know it was cheap because I actually contacted the venue before.
So the rent is cheap.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So why do these people need this type of promoter?
They don't. But it's just people who don't know better.
So why did you do it? What was your reasoning for choosing this promoter?
Because I wanted to get paid. And like I read this, I was like, this looks a little bit suspicious. And I was like, you know what? If I burn, I'll learn from it. And yeah, that what basically happened.
What are they providing other than the audience and the?
They won't provide the audience. Like we had to like go for the bring our own audience.
So it was just a place that you rent out. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you do your research on other places? Or
yeah, of course.
Okay. So this was considered the cheapest, supposedly.
One of the cheapest.
Okay.
Yeah. Like more in the city is like really a bit expensive, pricey, but in Brooklyn like it's not too bad. Like I had connections to a different studio that I used to work for, so I was able to like leverage and like use the stage they have. Okay. So that's where the next show is gonna be. It's gonna be May 2nd actually.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So basically, would like the other artists, like how many artists were there when you were there?
I believe it was 20 to 30.
So would you say that you're there to grab other audiences too, in a sense, because there's so many.
Yes, but with music, when you're performing, this is one thing I learned like 3 years ago, which is why I stopped doing like open mics. Right. Is that you can't really grow an audience through those gigs. Yeah, because they're another artist who's also trying to bring themselves up. The least you can do is network and try to build a connection. Okay. And it actually worked out because like I met people who eventually like transitioned into a bigger artist, or they knew someone else who were bigger or had some connection. But there were a lot of people who just got stuck in the cycle and think that they're making progress. Like they're just doing it for vanity at this point. I talked to my friends about it, and it's like some of them get it, but the rest of them like don't really get it. Like they think that, oh, this is what's gonna make me money, but it's like the royalties is going to be big because this is a small place.
So when you say that experience itself, so I think ultimately, artists, they go to those type of vendors because they want exposure from other audiences and to meet other people. That itself, I guess, that's what you're really paying for, right? Not really the vendor, because that's I know obviously that's what people are thinking. I would think the same too, even as a beginner or even as a pro. So why do you say that you're not grabbing another person's audience?
Oh, mostly because it's other artists.
That's fine.
Yeah.
They might like you more than they can like the current artist.
Yeah, but most artists, like, since they're already investing in themselves, like, that's how I think. Like, if I'm spending money on myself, I don't have time to spend money on other artists, even though I actually like support other artists.
But
there are a lot of artists that don't do the same.
So what I'm saying is that, okay, let's say that you have Mike here, and we have Jones here, and then we have Chrissy here. So we have these three artists here, right? How does the show work? Like, you guys go one by one?
Yep.
And then you still have the same audience. So let's just say that one of the audience, like, wow, I like this guy. Maybe I should start listening to him. That's what you were hoping for, right?
Yep.
So why do you think that didn't happen?
It happened, but like, we got the interaction, they become fans, but it's like they didn't end up becoming the customers in the end.
So
despite like still keeping in contact with them, like, they already have themselves to invest in. Like, you're not going to try to like get another artist who's already spending a whole ton of money on themselves when they're broke to become your audience. Which is why
But isn't it more of a subjective thing? Like, if a person in the audience is looking at you and they're like, oh, I like this guy, the only type of revenue you can get off of them if they decide to buy your beats or they buy some type of like Spotify, they view your thing, XYZ, right? They listen to your music. Other than that, how you monetize them? And I think the whole idea of like music, that's what I was talking about. It's very hard to monetize the early stages.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't like, you really can't. Even if you're trying to monetize, it's very like small, really small margins. It's not livable margins. I think the idea is that perhaps you might agree or disagree that I don't think it matters in the early stages.
Oh, really?
I think it's more of a long-term thing.
Exactly.
It's when you get the tours and stuff, that's when you start making money. See, I'm not really familiar with the music industry, but I understand that it's very similar to most businesses.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's like...
That's why I want to hear your input too.
Yeah, so it's like, in my opinion, I think long-term, if you build audience, people support you, they give like free advertisement. They like, oh, this guy's really cool. So they're gonna post on Instagram and just share you around. And then we get more people. And then I don't know how they will support you at that point, unless you have tours, unless you can educate me on like how you can monetize these artists. I mean, these audience, because the only thing I could see is probably from your beats or your future tours.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't really understand how you make money.
Well, lately, for the past year, I started building my email list.
Okay.
And I realized that the email list is more powerful than any social media, because social media, let's say, the difference between 500 likes on Facebook and 500 subscribers on the email list is that at least with your email list, you get to access all 500. Facebook like limits it to like 200 or something like that.
To play devil's advocate, why not both? Why not both?
Yeah, I use both simultaneously. But
use the I guess the search engine marketing to build from Facebook to get to your page, and from the page you have the subscriber list, and then
that's why I do it as well.
Yeah.
It's on my Instagram and Facebook as well.
I don't think you should divide them. They all work, all interconnected. I feel like every social media plus your email list all interconnect. Also, I hate emails. I don't actually check those, but that's me. Some people may. But I think the point I'm making is that getting like monetizing your audience is one of the biggest mistake for a person that's on Twitch. I have a business behind my whole Twitch. I don't actually make money from Twitch because, well, Twitch doesn't make much money. But the business behind it makes a lot. And my point is that you shouldn't monetize your audience so early. It is not worth it because people will spot it. It's actually a huge mistake. So I personally think that you maybe should change the perspective of how you see your audience, because your audience end of the day are like your friends. They become your friends, and they not really your friends, but peer.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
affiliates.
Yeah. They will support you. They give you the support you need. Some of them may even donate you stuff and whatever.
You're actually right. Like, I'm
Yeah.
actually thinking about it. It's like,
You can't really monetize. Like the way you monetize them is that's the problem. People chase the money. They expect, oh, I'm a rapper now. Let's chase the money. But it's a really long game. It takes a lot of time, and most of the time you have to work your day job or whatever to make, or have a side hustle or something to make the money. So you reach the end goal. Because unless someone is endorsing you to become a rapper, you're not gonna have the cash flow to have a team for management. You need a manager, music manager, extremely expensive, and so on and so on. But also is like, I've actually been, funny enough, I've been watching a lot of how these rappers got scammed. Yeah, so I realized that you also have to have the right team and advisement so that doesn't happen.
exactly.
So you need a team, but all that costs a lot of money. But at the end of the day, if you have a support, those people will help you with that. You'll be surprised how far it can go. If someone supports you in general, they might support you in another realm. If you decide to stop rapping, you might do something else in another entertainment situation. But the point is that I'm making is that do not monetize your audience, because in the long run you will fail. Guarantee you will fail. Look at every person that tried to monetize the audience. Did not do very well. They just greed. It's a greed. It's like one of the 7 deadly sins. It's greed. Be respectful to your audience. Understand that they have bills too, and they're just there to support you. By being there, they support you. By sharing your content, they support you. There's a lot of ways you can support someone. On the long run, will help you more than taking a couple bucks for them.
Exactly.
What is 10 years from now making a mil compared to the $1,000 that you potentially get from them? So that's
Exactly.
So I think the ideology of you saying that going to these places to get new audience. Granted, you got to be realistic with yourself. If you feel like you're really being ripped off and you could do somewhere better, then go knock yourself out. You learn from your mistakes. You feel like you could grab whatever you feel like it's good for your financial situation and also good for your career in music making. Then choose that, you know?
Nice.
But you have to make a judgment with that. But I will definitely disagree with monetizing your audience, especially in early stages. I would consider even 3 years in is early. Mid is when you start grabbing a much big audience. Like let's say like a measurable thing will be like, I don't know, like 15,000 subscribers on YouTube or something like that. Even then, that's still early stages. But I think that's my intake on monetizing your audience, because it's not a good idea.
Nice.
It's not a good idea.
Like I just do it passively. Like I won't really be like, oh, buy my music. I'm like more like, just check it out. Like I'll even try to hard sell. Like the most I do is like playlist submissions, where I actually go to and contact like some people who work at playlist companies and like hire them, and that's how it works. So like if it fits, it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that not to offend anybody, but I think that if it's music, should be like a hobby. If it goes far, it becomes your career.
Exactly.
But it's a passion. You're supposed to love it. But don't put your livelihood in the hands of it. If it doesn't make it out, then you'll be in a really bad situation. I always love games. And I'm fortunate enough to monetize it. But if it wasn't for that, I could still play it. It's not a big deal, right? I still have like backups, things that I need to do. Let's say that back in the days, I didn't do the service thing with my games. I didn't make any money out of it, and I had to go back to my 9 to 5. Then yeah, I'm still okay, right? But if you can throw everything away and you have no other potential, then that's pretty difficult. But I think at the end of the day, it should be a passion, something you love to do. And when you love to do something, the byproduct is money, because you're so passionate. You're putting everything you have into it, so it will pay you back eventually, but you also have to be realistic that it may never happen. So I would say steer carefully when you're in this type of industry, because this is very volatile and all means.
I also feel like that also applies to almost everything, even 9 to 5s, because I've been to like 2 jobs like since coming back, where the job actually like went bankrupt. Like even like the last supermarket location I was working at, when Amazon bought Whole Foods, all of a sudden like a lot of businesses around the area where I worked started closing down, including my own job, and I was like, really? And that's why you can't even put your eggs in the basket in one job. Like there's some jobs like probably like doctors, hospitals, those are the things that will probably never go away. But
they won't. They will never go away.
But like a lot of jobs lately, like they eventually like go away for some reason.
That's I think that that is true to some extent. If you're looking for a job, then yes, jobs are always replaceable. Even careers are. But I was more talking about more of like career kind of thing. If you're in a career, because jobs are, unless you have the mindset like how I do. I guess I think like this. It doesn't matter how you make the money as long as you make it. Once you make it, you can go to the next thing and move to the next thing. So you have cash flow, you go to the next business. But not everybody's fortunate enough or lucky. I got lucky. Honestly, things moved in just right for me. I met the right people the right time. I messed up the right time, not the wrong time. So it's like all of that. Like you get very lucky, but also I put myself into a situation. I'm a person who grabs every opportunity I can get, if it's fitting for my lifestyle. But also I have to suck up some things too. I have to get burned by some things too. And everything happens. But I think at the end of the day is what I'm saying is like, you compare like a hobby with a job. I wouldn't say that. Yeah, never put one. You don't really necessarily have to put all your eggs in one basket in terms of a job. If you're very committed to a company, I guess the comparison, like if you're really committed to a company and you want to move up in the ranks and the business close. However, if you move up to like mid-range management, you still can move that resume to a new job. So I wouldn't say that completely throws you off. However, if you work in, let's say, cash register for 10 years, your career is a cash register. That's different. But I would say that you can transition one to the next very easily in this world. No one's trapped. The only reason you're trapped is because you made yourself trapped.
Exactly.
So, yeah, you definitely can do anything. Yeah.
Like I remember, it's crazy because at the same location there was like this guy who was homeless, but he used to work for accounting. He used to be an accountant for a building like not too far ago, and it got bought by some foreigners, and he ended up getting kicked out, and he couldn't even get a job ever since. And it's like, yo, like what the hell is happening? I don't know if it's because he said he's been trying, but it's like I'm not even sure. I don't know if it's because he was just unfortunate or maybe it was just bad timing or what.
Who knows the answer? But we can use that as like a base of like, for everybody.
True.
Because if he really wanted to, he could have worked for a supermarket, but he didn't try for that. He probably thought he was too good for it or something like that. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah, to make money.
Yeah, to make a living. I wouldn't say. He probably like an alternative situation for the person. He probably got very depressed from it. Didn't feel like doing anything. He said he applied, but he didn't apply enough. He didn't even try outside of accounting. He just put himself in a situation where he just couldn't do anything. And assuming this guy was an accountant, I don't know how long. He should have a savings. So he could have been an addict to like maybe a stock market or something. That's how you become homeless. You burn out all your money because he gotta conserve his money. As an accountant, average you make around $67,000. If you worked there for a while, he probably moved up to $80,000. If he had maybe his living, his lifestyle was really expensive, so he spent every cent he had. We don't know the reason, but honestly, if he conserved and he played the right moves, he wouldn't find. So we don't know what happened to him, but more than likely he made some really bad decisions, and that's how he turned like that. But I wouldn't say that everybody who got kicked out of a company won't be able to find a job or whatever, you know. I think everyone has an option.
Nice. And speaking about work-life balance, right? I remember like a couple of months ago we talked about like how to have a work-life balance, save money, and at the same time enjoy the money that you have. Because you told me that you tried like hoarding the money, but you didn't enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah. So why was it like that for you? And like, how did you find a way to have a work-life balance where you could save and enjoy a lifestyle?
That was a hard venture. Actually, a friend of mine, which I'm gonna see soon in Orlando, he told me that all I cared about was the end game and not how I enjoy it. I didn't have any pleasure in my life. It was just very personal story. I actually ruined my relationship with my work. I was dating someone for we ended about 2 years something. Mainly because I didn't really give her any more attention. All I care about was my work. Granted, she wasn't very supportive of it, even though she said she was. But I wouldn't like throw the blame on her because I didn't give her enough attention. I couldn't balance it because for someone who's managing the international time zones and all of that, it's very difficult because. Well, you could be awake at 3 a.m. when you need it, and it was a 24-hour thing. I was working 100 hours a week.
Holy shit!
And I wasn't working smart. I didn't hire enough people because I wouldn't say greedy, but I just didn't trust anybody to do anything. So I didn't put any security measures for someone. Like I was just so scared if I hire someone, they'd screw up everything, and then my whole thing would collapse. But I didn't put security protocols, so nothing will happen. Nothing like that will happen. Nothing disastrous will happen. And that was my mistake. So what I did was I started working more effectively. I started hiring people. I started splitting the work so I don't have to do so much. The only thing I have to do is make the final call or throw in cash in order to execute something. So I became an investor with some little management. And this is why I said... I never say 3, I say 2.5 business. So that's why I say it like that. But I think that what my friend told me, I started cutting down my hours so I don't work as much anymore. Instead of 100, 110, I work maybe like 60. Even then, some weeks I don't do anything. Not weeks, but days. I won't do anything, just take the whole day off. And I start treating myself to nice things. I think that I work very hard for my money and I should treat myself, but also not live beyond my means. I'm a very simple person. Buy sweats, go to the gym, get some food. I eat out every day, actually. Whatever I enjoy eating, I buy whatever. And I think it matters because it makes me happy. If it makes me happy, I work better. I don't make mistakes. When I was very stressed out, I made a lot of mistakes. I made the wrong calls. And I was hurting myself while realizing it. And I actually ended up in the ER twice between November to December because I was, I guess my body couldn't take all the stress. And it collapsed on me pretty hard. So everything else messed up. My gymming got messed up because I was in the ER. So I lost a lot of weight, so I was a lot of pain. So everything just collapsed, and then my work efficiency was so bad because I had to miss out because I wasn't awake to do any work. So you gotta realize that you have to balance. Sure, you can save money, but treat yourself, but not to the point where you go broke. Be realistic what you need. If you feel like eating an apple pie every week, it's great. Then get yourself an apple pie. If you feel like an apple pie, eating an apple pie outside, it's too expensive. Buy bulk. Like you can always find shortcuts for things. So for me, I love pies. So I get myself pie.
Nice.
I could buy a big pie, but it's whatever. A couple dollars, not a big deal. And at the same time, I save my money because I didn't live beyond my means. If I wanted to go get a massage, that investment, so that's how I think. If I spend money, it's investment. So let's say that I actually bought like 15 pairs of sweats, so I didn't have to do laundry that much. Because the truth is that I make more money, way more money for the hour and a half I spent on laundry. So then I would buy those sweats. So that's the funny part.
Oh, man.
And so I bought those sweats. So now I have to do laundry
right now.
You know what I mean? Like that's efficiency of things. So you guys thought that I started thinking like that. If I get a massage, I hire someone to give me a massage. That's gonna create less tension in my body, and because that my effectiveness in the gym is good, and if my effectiveness in the gym is good, I feel good about myself, and I'll do better work. So you gotta invest. So you eat well, so you won't feel like sluggish, and your sleeping habits would be better if you do all of this. So I think a balance between like taking care of yourself, going to the gym, eating well, and doing what you enjoy, your effectiveness will be better. But you need parameters to be placed in order to accept this type of pleasure, because obviously you're not making any money. It doesn't matter, or you don't know enough that you can't afford to do these things yet. You gotta work your ass off.
Exactly.
The beginning's journey was 110 hours every week easily. There was no less, no more than that. Well, sometimes a little more, but try to prevent that because you just break down. So this is what I meant when I said you need to really pleasure. Like I would love to move right now. I guess my apartment is decent. It's clean, but I don't know. It's old, so it's like I could move somewhere else. But at the same time, I thought to myself, I could, but I'm comfortable here. Things are nice. Parents are nearby, so my mother sometimes cooks for me and stuff like that. So it's like, what's the point?
Exactly.
It really was the point of doing all of this. But I think if I had like going to my friend's house, he has a really nice house. I realized like I want to live somewhere really new, so I feel nice when I come to my place, not like depressing, and that will help me. It's whatever could stabilize your mood, or like make yourself feel good about yourself. So you can work more effectively, because if you work more effectively, you make more money. And having that whole balance is the key, I think. That's why I tell people, don't focus too much on saving money, because you want to enjoy your journey. Don't just, like what your mother said, it's pain is required, but suffering, something like that.
Oh yeah, pain is mandatory, but suffering is a choice.
Yeah, exactly. So that speaks a lot of value in terms of what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, like they don't like really have that balance. In fact, they even spend like way too much of money than they're supposed to. Like I used to have friends who like spend their whole money on Jordans, and then they come to me and ask me for money. I'm like, dude, what the hell is this? And people like they just don't really have that balance. Like even me, like about a year ago, that's when I finally started realizing that I gotta start enjoying like life as it is. Like it's not even about the money that I'm getting right now from work and freelancing. It's just like, what are you gonna do with the money? Like you can't just keep it. Like you just gotta like have fun when you can. Just enjoy life as it's going by. Like you only got one life.
Right.
And even though if you believe in reincarnation, you might not even be able to come back as a human. So it's like, just enjoy it while you're here. Enjoy your money. Spend your money responsibly. Like, don't be a dumbass.
Just be a reasonable human being overall. Moreover that, I think that I'm not sure what what audience you want to speak to, but I think people in general, they have such bad spending habits. They have to burn before they understand it. I think it's a lesson that you can speak value to, but you can't really convince, because they have to deal with it in order to actually understand, oh my God, I have no money for rent. Then it gets a little scary. So sure, you want to save some people, but you can't save them all.
No, you can't.
Either they listen or they don't listen. But I personally think that if those are the people that you want to reach, then it's not really worth it, because either they learn it or they don't. And this is speaking to someone who has terrible spending habits too, because I was making decent money as a kid, much more than what a kid should be making, and I would treat all my friends to Red Lobster like twice a week. We had Applebee's across the street, so I would treat them to that. And by the time I hit college, I was like, where did all my money go? So yeah, I totally understand that. I didn't get a single value from that. Even Jordans would be better. At least could resell that. I didn't get a single value. So I totally understand that, where it's coming from. Anybody could have told me to stop spending. Actually, people did tell me, they told me to save. I didn't listen to them until I understood, like, wow, I can't even afford Chinese food. I'm hungry. Like, that's what it has to get to in order to learn it.
Yo.
And I think moreover, it's like, if you work very hard for your money, you start seeing the value of it, extreme value of it. I think that's when I really save money, because like, wow, I work all week for that meal. You know, you get a really expensive dinner, you're like, wow, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore. So that's where it starts playing then, when you realize that you work super hard. So the same my mom used to tell me, you spend all this money, but you have no idea how much work it takes to make that money. I didn't understand, but now I do. So that depends on the person, but to reach out to these people to convince them, it's pretty pointless.
Yo, it's true, but
It's pretty pointless.
a little bit of awareness can always like
Yes, of
do
course,
a difference, because that's how like I realized that I need to spend money, because all it took was one video for me to realize that I should have been doing this. What the hell I've been doing all this time?
To realize it, but you don't react on it yet. That takes time. That takes time. That's like a habit. You can read the books.
A lot of people like have that. But speaking of books, when you got into business, like did you read any books, or did you rely on just YouTube?
None actually. It was I read blogs about human dynamics. Odd enough. So I spoke about this. The more I got into business, I became more of a semi-sociopath, where I stopped acknowledging people's feelings, but more of like the ecosystem of how humans are. So when you're doing business, you need to know what's going on in the situation, what's the motive, what's the this, what's that, all human dynamics. You hear like, so why this person, what makes this person tick, what motivates this person, why does this person want to buy from me? So it becomes more of a neutral thing. I don't know if sociopath is the right word, but it's just like, you technically don't have no morals. You just see it as like methods of effective of numbers. But you also like there's a saying that I like to say. I don't know if anybody says this, but logic is not possible without emotion, because we're talking about human beings. Human beings put logic and emotion together all the time, even if they don't want it. There's always a bias. Logic itself has some type of bias, unless you're talking about like physics or even math. Even then, you gotta put some type of bias in it in order to identify what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is that I had to understand humans to understand business, and this is why I naturally became a good businessman, because of that. So I had to study human beings really hard. I knew how to settle a deal, how to arrange a deal, what makes people happy, understanding that people are very appreciative, making your clients, your audience. I was an ass kisser. I had to learn how to be I'm a pro ass kisser, absolutely pro.
I remember you told me this since the beginning, like when we first met.
I'm really good at it. I had to learn like really, not the way like people don't like to be smuggled. They like to feel good about themselves.
Exactly.
If you can make your audience feel good about themselves, they will always come back. And I think that's what, it's not so much of, it's marketing, all of that comes down to how good you can make people feel. It's not about these strategies and all the things, how you reach to people, but the best thing is to have supportive people, like your business, like the person you are, and feel like the engagement within them. So they'll come back. Long-term revenue is much better, because long-term revenue means that they'll refer their parents or family members, friends, so on and so on. So long-term revenue, they always come back, and I think I prefer long-term than a bunch of random one-timers. I was looking through my PayPals and all those financial things, and they give you like a yearly report of who comes back. I have a 78% rate of people coming back.
That's awesome.
And that's why I generated so much money, because of that. So I think that's key. That's absolutely key. Supportive. And the funniest part is that I did not get any, like, I do beyond what they asked me to do. And because of that, that's why they come back. They are very appreciative of what's being done, the work that's being done, the item, the customer service. That's why Amazon does so well. The Amazon enhancement they did back in like the mid 2000s, right? They did very good in that sense, and that's why Amazon's the biggest company. They really got on it. They made shipping easy. They made the navigation easy. They made everything so easy. It's such a strong customer enhancement. That's why people love Amazon. They have everything you need in one. It's like that's what people need to work on. I see these companies failing because of that. You don't have that type. Like Shake Shack is a great example. You go to Shake Shack, the workers will come and like, oh, do you want me to take your tray? You feel so good. You feel like their family. It's like your mother just came in here and help you take your tray and put it away. Like that's how you need to feel, and that's what makes a successful business. Make people feel good about themselves and be honest. You know, like even I had one. I gave a refund to, right. And that person still comes to me to this day. Just because even though I did a good job, they weren't happy about certain things, and give them the money back, and they're very appreciative. They come back to you and they realize it was a mistake, and that long-term revenue was much better if I just said no, nothing.
Wow, you just showed me some new stuff there.
Yeah, but you gotta really be. You gotta love your customers. That's it. That's it. That's the part where human dynamic comes in. It's odd enough, and it's a funny saying. Well, not a funny saying, but I found out that CIA, they actually hire a lot of people with like history and sociology degrees. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah. And I think I heard of that from shows, but I didn't thought it was real.
It is actually real.
Shit.
It's because they understand that that people who are in those majors, they understand history of like human beings, like human dynamics, and this is why they're intelligence. If you understand the human dynamics, you become very good in business and interaction. And then the CIA is also a business too, so it's like that type of ideology is very effective when you're interacting with anybody. If you're trying to be entrepreneurs, you have to learn these human dynamics, and you have to be very open-minded to a lot of these things, and also avoid politics. that's dangerous. I'm telling you.
I'm trying to dip from that. Like I dipped from it once, and then like I end up going a little bit centrist. I'm like, fuck! I just realized I'm going back to it again.
It's one of the most. I mean, speak to more of a personal level to you. I know I kind of understand the side that you're on in terms of politics. The thing is that some people may agree with you, some people don't. But why risk it? Why just keep yourself neutral so no one knows? If someone brings it up to you, message them. But the fact is that that's why that policy is out. That's why no one really wants to get into any political, unless it's a good move. Do you feel like your audience, like Nike, and their sales went shot up because of the whole Colin thing?
Yeah.
So it depends. But I still don't recommend it in general. I think
I got you.
Yeah, it's.
But yo, it's like an hour already. Like I'm actually shocked. It feels like 20 minutes we've been talking.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think like this podcast on Anchor, like it only allows like up to an hour of like
no problem.
audio. So you got any links you want to provide to anybody to contact you or anything or?
I just wanted a conversation, not so much promoting. I think in terms of promoting, I'm doing quite fine. But I'm trying to see if I could do some type of. I actually don't have. Each of my business have a different website, but
you can always send it to me. I could always attach it to the site.
I think Discord will work. Discord is pretty good. I think that's my center of like. It is quite handy for all businesses, surprisingly, but the Discord would probably be the best one. So generally, if you need help with like maximizing ads, you need rebranding for anything, I offer consulting business in terms of that. Or if you just want to have a conversation, that's fine with me. I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. Obviously, that's why I travel like an hour and a half to get here, so it's fun to me. And doesn't really affect me because every second I breathe, my business are bringing me money. So it's like I don't even ask for money sometimes. I don't really care. It's just like I enjoy doing this. I long term I really want to do like lectures and stuff for colleges to teach the youth like how to engage as an entrepreneur, because most degrees are useless. I'll say 99% of degrees are useless. The only one you need is the very technical ones, right?
Exactly.
So it's like I want to share this knowledge to a lot of people who are like stuck, confused, you know. So yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for having me today.
Awesome. We gotta do this again, especially with Brandon, like, because Brandon has like different insights, and I feel like we should all like do it together.
All right, sounds good.
Nice. So I guess we got a couple seconds left. So I guess see you guys on the next podcast. Peace.
Thank you, guys.